in its own like kind of goofy way. It's just such a different, like, I actually think Holland is really good at blending the comedy with the gruesomeness and like walking the line consistently and continuously and like actually involving the comedy and the horror with each other. I found this film felt like Joel Schumacher had to do the kids adventure movie that the studio was asking for, and he gave them that, and I think he does an okay job at delivering that. It's not like he just stopped checking in behind the camera or something like that, but he's so much more passionate about the other sequences in terms of how much effort he puts into directing it, how much effort he puts into the atmosphere. And I just felt that every single time I feel like I was cutting back to like, not just the kids, like the sitcom stuff with the mom and her dating life and the stuff to do with the goofy, eccentric grandpa. And like, again, on an individual level, they're perfectly funny bits. I just went, my God, Joel Schumacher could not give anywhere near of a shit as much for this as he does with, you know, putting Echo and Bunnyman on the soundtrack and doing floating POV camera shots of an angsty teen vampire flying around, or even and it's a prettier, vibier movie, and the style I think is so well done that I kind of just wished it committed more to that, because when this like first gets in, like I want to say maybe even the first 30-40 minutes or whatever it is, like I actually kind of like loved this movie the first time I watched it. I was like, this is
I had the same experience.
Say what you will about Jason Patrick. I don't know if he's my favorite actor, you know. He's perfectly fine, but I like the concept of this movie, like the opening theme over, you know, the California boardwalk carnival imagery, the rowdy punk teens and their like flamboyant gear straight into like the Warriors. I do like Kiefer Sutherland. I wish he got kind of more to do, but I think with his performance, he finds some intensity in it. Obviously, iconic look with the bleach blonde hair and like the ratty pea coat.
It is kind of interesting to have him not be a man of many words, and just kind of his presence is what is hypnotic to a lot of people, because he still comes off as the leader. I mean, obviously Schumacher is presenting him that way. He's constantly leading every time they slow motion walk anywhere, but it does. He still has this presence of like, the artificial coolness that the movie's giving off that you want to be a part of. Because he doesn't really have any moment where he's like giving a super speech or anything about like the rebellious nature of the way that they live. Like there's moments of it, but there's not a captivating monologue that I would like reference with the Lost Boys of that. You know what I mean? But he still has that,
which is a little disappointing, because honestly I think he could have, if given the opportunity, because again he was coming right off of Stand By Me, I think was his big like notable film or performance right before this. So it makes sense to kind of put him in this kind of like alpha tough guy position, because he kind of tries to do that in that movie as well, right? And obviously he's got a good look for that, but having seen what he did later in his career when he went full psycho mode with Freeway, could you imagine if they had let him go a little bit like hammier with this and like actually be like a charismatic leader?
It does feel like that when you watch him, that he has more in him, even if I do think he's good in this, but it does feel like they're not quite capturing what he's capable of. I did get that a lot, because it's like
and just more menace, because he goes like in, for anyone who hasn't seen Freeway, he literally plays a serial killing pedophile version of the Little Red Riding Hood, like big bad wolf. Yeah. And he's incredible. Oh, he's insanely good. Yeah. And just knowing that that's in him, the idea that you can't have like a more like just engaged and charismatic and psychotic kind of leader leading these guys, and just I think focusing more of the story on that, because I think my first time through watching this, or I feel like I realized it more on the second time actually, I went, the version of this that is like, I think amazing, and that I maybe would have preferred. And you know, it's not always a great critique to say what you would have rathered the movie be or whatever, but I do watch this and I go, it's so tantalizingly close to being it. Yeah. That yes. I totally. Go, this needs to be like, Sutherland is the leader of a beach motorcycle gang and he seduces a guy, and it's the sexy vampire version of Point Break. Yeah. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Like I want to see more of these two guys actually interacting. I want to see that emotional and psychological connection these guys form. And that would be more appealing, I think, to the Joel Schumacher like homoerotic vampire seduction thing that he, you know, clearly was thinking about. And this movie just doesn't do it because it has to spend so much time doing the silly stuff.
Well, yeah, and I totally agree with what you're saying there, because I watched this was my second time watching this movie, and I think it was like first act and second act went by and I went, I think I love this. I don't understand why I threw this. And then the third act happens and everything feels like, it almost feels like I'm watching the studio edited version of something, and there's grittier stuff that they've cut out. That's why when I watch this, I get this constant feeling like there's this director's cut out there that isn't, and I just haven't seen it, and no one's like gotten their hands on it.
I still think the violence is like R-rated. I still think it gets pretty like nasty.
Yeah, I think it is to an extent, but it's not. I don't honestly think it gets to the kind of visceral feeling you get when you watch the wolf transformation in Fright Night or something like that.
No, it's definitely like a cut around a little bit more.
They do a lot of these like quick cuts and fades where you'll see like not like teeth going into the neck and then blood coming out, but then it'll cut quickly away to somebody's reaction of that. There's just not a lot of moments where it makes you sit in that violence and that the more adult themes. And it just felt like, again, because I still kind of find something adorable and charming about the kid stuff in this. So I don't necessarily, on a personal level, wouldn't necessarily want that to get...